It's time for the Money Puzzle Podcast, with good conversations and realistic solutions to the money puzzles we all face every day. I'm your host, financial advisor, chartered financial consultant, and president of Edgen Insurance and Financial, Robert Edgen. Now let's get this show started. Hi there, hello, and welcome to the Money Puzzle Podcast. I am Robert Edgen, and I'll be your guide for the ride for the next few minutes. Each week, we look at a different piece of the money puzzle and practical ways to solve it so you can have the financial confidence you deserve and the
future that you dream of.
The future that you dream of.
Right.
That's right. Absolutely. This is episode number 30, and today we're talking about returns. No, we're not talking about how to return things to Amazon. We're talking about the rate of return you get on your investments. Do they matter? How much do they matter to your overall financial success? To me, it would seem like they would matter a lot, but my business partner from a Michigan farmer is here in the studio with me to help break it down and figure it out. Brian Johnson, great to see you again.
You too. That was funny. I haven't heard that one before.
I know you're from Michigan. Were your parents farmers?
Not my parents. Grandparents were, yes.
Well, that's kind of true then.
Yeah, kind of.
I'm excited to get into this conversation for this episode because this is actually your baby. You came up with the topic, the headline. You came up with everything about this show.
Almost everything about the show. I came up with the topic and the headline. Do returns matter?
Do returns matter? And why are we talking about it today?
Because of the questions I get on the phone. Every once in a while, people ask, hey, why is my friend getting more than I am?
Which is a great question.
It is.
And it's an important question to ask of your financial advisor. And it's a great conversation to have. So I'm glad that you came up with it.
Great.
But before we get into today's hot topic, I do a lot of reading and research, and I come across different financial news headlines that catch my eye. But today, since this is Brian's topic, Brian's got the news. No. Just joking. I still have the news. I totally threw you under the bus on that one. No. I have the news. So let's go ahead and take a minute and look at some news. Today's news headline comes from Reuters, and the headline reads, Australian charged $68,000 for a beer in Britain. It says an Australian cricket journalist in Britain for the Ashes Test series, I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
Is claiming to have drunk the most expensive beer in history after being charged nearly $68,120 for the beer.
And it was a Coors, right?
So it was an IPA. It actually has the a Deutscher's IPA. I mean, I don't know. I've never had that.
It was probably the only one ever made.
It had to have been. It was so ridiculously expensive. It says the rude shock came a few hours after he had visited the bar, where he said, I wasn't wearing my glasses, so I did not check the bottle for the bill. I just signed and handed over the receipt. And what happened is his wife called him and said, why did you spend $68,000 at the bar?
Hey, but at least he could afford to spend $68,000 at the bar.
Actually, I wish. What really happened was it came out of his HELOC.
Nice.
Yeah, he had which they don't call it that over there, but he had a mortgage reserve line of credit. And what happened was, instead of charging 6.78, they actually put a couple of zeros before the decimal point instead of after. So it says it was drained from his mortgage offset account. And get this, he was charged a $2,500 transaction fee by the bank as well.
That's awesome.
So pretty amazing. I think really you have to look at your bill. I think it's just the moral of the story.
Bring your
readers. That's right. If you wear cheaters or readers, which I think I'm about to have to get into, I'd say
it's awful.
Bring them, but you know what? Use it to look at the bill.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. So, all right, if you want to read the rest of that story, I've got the show notes directly below this video on the website, or it's in the show notes on the podcast app you're listening to. Go ahead and check that out. But for now, let's go ahead and get to today's hot topic. All right, for today's hot topic, do returns really matter? And if so, why and how much? Brian, this is your baby. Get us started here.
Yeah, so here's how it all came about. I got a call from a client saying, hey, I was talking to my neighbor, and he is making more money than I am. His returns are better than mine, and I want to know why.
Okay,
why is that happening?
Okay.
So my first question back to her was, well, how much are they making? I mean, yeah, we need to know some of that stuff. I did not say this, but I probably should have. Did you see a statement? Because it's always one of those things I've always wondered about. And when people ask that question, well, what are they referring to? Did they have a winning week? Did they have a winning stock? Did they have a winning ETF? Whatever it is, did that actually happen?
So first, I mean, human nature, most of the times we want to tell people we're doing maybe a little bit better than we are doing.
We all want to win.
We all want to win, yeah.
Yeah, truth or not, we all want to be winners. We don't want to be the one that's lagging behind a neighbor or a friend or a family, especially my brother, right? I don't want to ever be behind my brother.
So it's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses, but in this particular case, a lot of times the Joneses are, hey, I did this. Oh, yeah, well, look at the returns that I got. Yeah. So that's a great question. Did they really get them, and for what time frame?
For what time frame? Yeah, that's a big deal. And so when you're looking at very short time frames, because we could, like last Friday was a great day in the stock market, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the stocks did really, really, really good. Others didn't.
So that's the first question to ask the neighbor or the colleague who are you having this conversation around the water cooler is, okay, that's fantastic. But for what time frame?
Right.
And do you say, prove it to me?
Well, no, not really, but is it the entire portfolio?
Right.
Because a lot of our clients have really big portfolios, right? Mm-hmm. There's multiple facets to it.
Diversified.
It's just not a stock and it's just not a bond. There's a whole bunch of different assets in there, so some perform better than others at any given time. So, one of the things to always look at, and one of the things I talked to her about is like, you got to remember what our priorities are. What your goals are. Your goals, your priorities are specific to you. They're not specific to anyone else. My goals and my priorities are different than what Rob's goals and his priorities are. The way my lifestyle is different than my neighbor's lifestyle. I mean, I live next to a $1 million home, couple of them. Mm-hmm. I don't live in a $1 million home. It's some choices that I made. So our priorities are what need to drive our portfolio.
So are they investing for the same reasons as you are? And in the investing, so for example, maybe I'm younger and I have really growth-oriented, mindset and goals. So I'm, aggressive and aggressive. Yeah. And maybe you are at a different point in your life where you've done better. You just need to protect.
Right.
So
exactly.
Maybe your goal is safety.
Time frames are a big deal. So one of the questions that we always ask our clients are, what's the time frame that we're playing with here that we need to really look at? So if you have a 10-year or less time frame, we need to be a lot more conservative. But also with that, what asset level are we looking at? Do you have $3 million that we're investing, or are you like me and only have $55,000 to invest and I have a 5-year time frame? That makes a difference in trying to decide how we're going to invest that money, what assets that we're going to purchase, versus if we have a short time frame but we need to make a lot of money, so oftentimes we're going to end up taking some risk in that.
So a great question to ask, maybe not of the neighbor, but the great question to ask is, does this person have the same goals and the same time frame as me? Because if not, they're probably invested very differently for different outcomes.
Right. And what we do is we design everybody's financial plan because they're individuals. We design it individually. Like my wife told me, it's as unique as a fingerprint. Because a lot of it is. Because, like, I'll give you an example. Our neighbor, right, no kids. The kids are gone. They're still young, but the kids are gone. It's totally different than having 4 kids at home that you homeschool and pay for some private school, too.
Right.
And so it's a lot different looking. The conversation is totally different at that point in time.
So just because somebody gets better returns, they may be invested for a different purpose.
A different purpose.
So, and if that's the case, then of course the returns are going to be different. You might not need to get the best growth ever. You might just need to protect what you've got.
Right. I've got one of my clients, actually a couple of them in their 70s, but, they're like, okay, we're looking at our portfolio and the stocks and the things that we have in there are pretty flat this year. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But what are we investing for? We're investing for the income. The fluctuation of stock price, we don't want to be drastic. We want it to be kind of a moderate we don't want to see waves, right? We want to kind of have steady. And so when we're investing on the income side of things, that's what I'm concerned about.
So for people who maybe don't understand that, sometimes you can invest for growth. Other times you can invest where growth isn't the main priority, but you want your investments to pay you a paycheck.
Right.
So you invest in different kinds of investments that are geared towards paying paychecks versus growing faster.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. So,
even as we get closer into our 60s, the same thing's true. We have to look at all those priorities. What is your house paid for? If it is, we don't need nearly as much money going into retirement, right? Because we don't have to make a house payment. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. Your cars, did you buy cars just before you retired and they're all paid for, that type of thing. So when we design those portfolios, again, it is unique to you. So whatever your neighbor is doing or the guy at the water cooler or whoever is going to be different, especially if you work with us, than anything else out there. Well, I don't want to say anything, but then your neighbor really is going to be unique to you.
All right. So, ultimately though, do returns matter to my success, my retirement success?
Yes, but not at the water cooler. The water cooler, the over-the-fence talk about returns do not matter.
Because you don't know what you're comparing.
There's too many variables there to know what you're comparing. Absolutely right. So what matters is when we design that portfolio and that financial plan unique to you, are we meeting a specific goal?
So there it matters, because if you say to me, hey, you know what, Rob, as your financial advisor, you need to be getting 4.5% on your investment returns every year based on your unique situation. Well, then really what matters is, are my returns meeting that, exceeding that, or not doing that? That's where they matter.
That's where it matters.
I'd like to throw something else in the mix on, do returns matter? I would say yes, they do, but I would think in the grand scheme of things, they are secondary to how much are you saving and what are you doing to control your spending. To me, I just did these 2 series on financial fitness,
right.
And I kind of look at it as what your investments return are. That's like lifting the weights. That's doing the exercising. But 80% of your fitness goals are met by controlling your diet. And to me, that's controlling your spending and saving money. Behavior. That's right. So the returns matter, but the behaviors matter more.
It does matter more. You're absolutely right. And so any times that we're looking at returns and things for people, we can think of a few people that we've been dealing with, right? We look at that portfolio all the time and making sure we're meeting those benchmarks. Not a benchmark as like an index or something like that, but the goals that the client has prioritized to us. So are we meeting or exceeding those goals?
And if we are, the returns are on track, and they matter. If they're not, the returns are not on track. They still matter.
Yeah, don't get us wrong, though. I'm not saying that you should never shoot for the stars. Why not? If we're meeting or exceeding, there's always going to be money there that you can play with. Right. Yeah. But if you want to, if that's your desire to do, like I'll buy individual stocks here and there, and a couple of them have been terrible lately. But if I do that part of that money is not part of what I really need to meet my retirement goal. That money is, why not?
It's your fun money.
Yeah.
So, okay. Got it. Anything else we need to know about, do returns matter?
No, I think that's pretty much it. But if you want to really dive into a financial plan, give us a call.
So absolutely. In fact, really, the ultimate question is, what should your returns be for you?
Right.
That's
absolutely
right. So that's what really matters, is what should your returns be to meet your goals? Yep. That's a great question.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of questions that your financial advisor or anybody that you talk to should be asking you to get to know you, to figure out that piece of the puzzle.
So, absolutely. Okay. Great conversation. Thank you for the insights and the questions, and now we can talk about do returns. So basically, when your neighbor or your colleague tells you what the returns are, you basically tell them to step off, chump. I don't care. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine's better than yours. I always say that. Mine's better than yours. I just know it.
All right, so that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again with Brian next week to talk about credit and what's credit got to do with it. But for today, if you got some value out of the show, please do us a favor, share us with a friend who needs to hear it. Give us a rating on whatever podcast app you're listening to this on. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any shows. And finally, if you've got questions of your own, email them to questions@yourmoneypuzzle.com. Until next week, be safe, have some fun, and do something to help solve your money puzzle. Your future self will thank you for it.
Registered representative of and securities offered through Securities Management and Research, Inc., SM&R. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through BFC Planning, Inc. Edgen Insurance and Financial Services, Johnson Financial Services, SM&R, American National Family of Companies, and BFC Planning are independent entities. There are risks involved with investing which may include market fluctuation and possible loss of principal value. Particular investments may not be suitable for certain situations. Carefully consider the risks and possible consequences involved prior to making an investment decision. Our firm does not provide legal or tax advice. Be sure to consult with your own legal and tax advisors before taking any action that may have tax implications.